To do what?
Play football. And sell ivermectin.
That would be interesting.
I don't care. He can leave. He's gone for me.
Well, he's grown out of that role, I believe. How old has he got to be now?
I don't know.
Do we have everyone there?
Well, with you, we have a quorum.
Okay, because my computer says it's 9 a.m. So if we have a quorum,
Michelle's
then
here.
I will call the Parks, Tourism, and Economic Development Committee meeting for February to order. And I can certify that the open meeting law requirements have been met by proper posting. And the next thing on the agenda is to do a roll call of committee members. Beth Killian is here, the chair of the committee, currently representing District 7.
Nutter.
Jean Galazinski, citizen member.
Buzz Sorgi, citizen member.
Michelle Haynes.
Turn your mics on, please.
Bob Petrick.
Michelle Haynes.
Dan Schreiner.
Jeannie Nutter.
Do we have any staff members that would like to introduce themselves?
Go ahead.
Reed Lally, Parks and Environmental Specialist, Department of Land Management.
Becky Arneson, Fiscal Coordinator, DLM.
Mike Kornman, Director of Land Management.
So it sounds like we're all good to go, and I chatted with Dick Miller. He's sitting in also. We have a 13-item agenda. If someone would like to adopt the agenda.
I make a motion to adopt the agenda.
Second.
Motion made by Nutter and seconded by Schreiner to adopt the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? So we have item number 5, approving the January 4th regular minutes. Someone to make a motion and second?
I make
So
a
moved.
motion to- oh, sorry.
I'll second.
Okay, a motion made by Schreiner, a second made by Galazinski to approve the January minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And Killian will abstain. The minutes have been approved. Public comments. Is there anyone in the public that would like to make a comment? Please call in at 715-538-1770. Or if Mr. Miller, you have something you want to comment on?
I am just here to observe, if that's okay, Madam Chair.
That is perfectly fine with me. I'll do a second call for public comments, 715-538-1770. And third and final call, 715-538-1770. I believe there are no public comments, so I'll close the public comment section at 9:03 a.m. Then I believe Reed must be next with additional meter installation at our Three Lakes lots.
Yes, thank you, Beth. I'm going to ask the committee to approve that we install 4 more meters at down in the Three Lakes lots down there in the village of Trempealeau. As you know, we're doing 5 meters, which was supposed to be in last June, but with all the delays and supply chain issues going on, and just getting parts, just throughout the country in general. It was delayed, and they finally have the parts now, so they'll be putting those in first thing in the spring. So that same company, which was approved almost a year ago now, asked if we wanted to do another 4 at the same rate as before, and they would get these 4 new meters in by July. Let's hope.
July?
Yes. So I figured, hey, might as well go ahead and do it now. It's going to come to about $2,900 as soon as the ground thaws out. And we have, well, I guess this is for a different agenda item, but we do have 5 commitments so far for those. So
Is there money in the budget for the 2,900?
yes.
I'll make a motion that we go ahead with those 4 additional hookups.
I'll second. Then we'll
Yes.
have 9?
We'll have 9. Yep.
Cool.
How many spots are
Any
down
other?
there?
There's about, well, we have it drawn up on the map as 18, but I think some I'd probably combine. So I would say realistically 15 or 16, depending on how we want to divvy up a certain area.
Is it our hope to have electricity at all of the sites eventually?
Eventually, it would be nice to have that, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, assuming we get, that demand for
Well, it
people
certainly
staying
would
there.
make a site more palatable if there was an electric hookup.
Absolutely, yep, for sure.
Now, is this, you said for the 2,900 for 9 of them?
This would be just for the additional 4.
Oh,
It's basically just an extension of the first quotation that I signed that was approved.
That's why I said 9, if you were thinking about that, because we have 5 already.
Mhm.
4 already. 5 already.
5 already, well, not quite yet, but as soon as we
Right.
can get they get the wires underground. So the village themselves actually put connect the electricity to the pedestals and the meters, so. And there's no charge on that, but then they will charge the monthly meter fee per meter, which is about $9 per meter per month. So that will cost us around, a little less than $100 per year, which I guess we can work into the cost of, yeah.
Is there any gravel down there for tentative roads in there or not? Or is it all mud yet?
Most of them are right off of a gravel road, and then I looked into pads, but after discussing with with Roxroy down there in Trempealeau, he said there'd have to be like an HHS study done,
Yeah.
which is surprising to me that that study would need to be done just for a gravel pad. I mean, usually that's a study for more of a significant floodplain development type thing, such as buildings, dams, that kind of thing. But that's what they said I'd have to go through if I wanted to install gravel on the individual sites. But as far as just the roads to the sites, Bob, there's good access. Yeah, shouldn't be much of a problem there. Now, don't get me wrong, in wet years when it floods, there's definitely, the sites themselves can be muddy, that's for sure. But getting to them at least is good.
Depending on the year, that can be more than muddy down there.
Yeah, there can be knee-deep water.
A lot of years that you don't get in there till August.
That's right, yeah.
Very dry right now.
It is.
Could you
Quite nice.
explain what that HHS or whatever you said?
It's
is?
more or less a study of water displacement and what the effects would be within that floodplain, I believe. I'm sure maybe Buzz would have a little
Does
bit
it
better
have
idea, but,
Can you tell me the name of it?
it's like hydrology. I would have to look that up and get back to you, but I know hydrology is one of them, I believe. Buzz, would you by chance know what that study is?
Well, it seems like it would be a de minimis study in the case of gravel pads. And is that a requirement of DNR or federal floodplain management or the city of Trempealeau or village of Trempealeau's requirements, because this is in the floodway?
I believe it's federal.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
But you might want to look into that, read if that study is, it seems like that you're displacing such a small amount of material that it should be just a de minimis approval, meaning that it's little or no impact. If you wanted to look into it, it shouldn't be that big of a deal. Are the other adjacent private campground spots, do they all have gravel pads?
The campground on there does, I believe, and there is some additional private lots next to ours that do. and I'm not sure exactly if they've been there a long time or when they were put in there. I remember looking into this before, and I think the thing that turned us away from it was the cost to have one of these studies done. But I can certainly look back into it again, unless there is something that can just waive it because it is such an insignificant effect on the floodplain.
I guess I would always call that question first. See if there's not necessarily a workaround, but just what is, because I know when our floodplain engineers looked at things when I was working on smaller projects like this, I'm pretty sure there was a de minimis assessment.
Okay. That would make sense for a case like this, for sure.
But maybe it's not though, who knows, because this is pretty hot flood prone area, so.
Yeah, in a wet year, I would assume that a pad would start to disappear.
Yeah.
I would think.
Wash away.
Yeah, and just sink into the ground, and so.
Well, the gravel has a way of disappearing almost anywhere.
It does.
Over time.
It does, especially when you put it down right before the first snowfall
Yeah.
on your driveway.
Yeah.
But
How do
that's.
how do they handle waste down there?
They'd have to put a, either go to a dump station somewhere or have a holding tank and have somebody come and pump it out. Actually, and I also did have people last year bring in portable outhouses or porta potties and then have somebody come pump them too.
Thought I had seen porta potties down there.
Mm-hmm. So does anybody else have any other questions on the bond?
When you were meeting with the representatives down there, how was their overall feeling about this down there, like the municipality itself?
With what we're doing down there? They seem supportive.
Okay.
I know there was a little bit of concern from some of the private, neighboring folks down there, but I think the first couple of years we've had it, there's been no issues and everybody's getting along, so that's good.
What do we charge to have somebody parked there for?
$1,200 for the season.
Okay.
And that's basically April or when the flood stops to Halloween.
Okay. Call the question.
Okay, so we have a motion by, could you refresh my memory, and second by,
Nutter.
Motion by Shriner, second by Nutter.
thank you, to approve the additional 4 electrical meters installation at the 3 Lakes lots. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The meters will be installed as soon as they can be purchased and installed. Thanks, Reed, for doing all that work. And now you've got a little more work to do to check on the other questions that the committee has.
Okay, yep, I will get answers to those.
Number 8 is park shelter deposit and fees.
Right, after last spring in March, there was an event that happened there. The committee agreed to raise the deposits for shelter reservations at Petrick Park, and then at the same time bring the 10 p.m. quiet time out by midnight time back to 8 p.m. being out by 8 p.m. on that particular day. And I think after going through a season with it like that, I think we lost some use of the shelters just due to the high security deposit. But I think that if we lowered the security deposit but kept the same time of being out at 8 p.m., I think we would see the shelters use increase. That's just kind of what I observed over the year. Obviously, there could have been other factors as well, like the pandemic and whatnot. But I had a lot of people on the phone just verbally say, "Oh, it's $725 to put down to rent the shelter. I don't know if we can do that." And they'd call elsewhere, and then I wouldn't get a call back. So potential people that we lost, there's a little bit of park revenue and use of the park. So I'm asking the committee if you would consider keeping the 8 p.m. close time out by then, but maybe lower the deposits back down to $200 from the $500 for the shelter reservations. Or I'm open to any suggestions, obviously, that the committee has. So
Currently
What is the current shelter reservation? You said 750 once, then 500 Reed?
Sure, I apologize, I wasn't clear there. The actual rental fee for the lower shelter is $100, and it's $225 for the class, but the deposits are $500 for each one. So you need to put down $725, plus we're asking for a credit card for the class, and we have to put $600 down for the lower shelter and the credit card. And people just are having a hard time, even though we don't cash the check, correct, Becky?
Yeah, you're correct. We don't cash the, no, sorry. We do cash the
That's
check.
right.
We just refund everything back to them. But just having to, you've got, working parents, children trying to do birthday parties, they're not willing or able to put forward $725 for a party or a baptism or whatever. We found that the money wasn't really what was the deterring factor. It was the time frame. So if we're not having parties until 10, midnight o'clock, at night, now we have that what was happening late hours is now stopping. So us just changing this time frame has really deterred so many things. So it's more or less the better option. If we can bring back a more affordable price for our people in this community to be able to rent the shelter, but yet still keep that lower or that earlier time frame, it'll make the campers happy and it'll keep out the problems we were having.
Couldn't have said it better myself, Becky.
Especially with the spacer in my mouth, you can probably already understand me.
Yes, Teeny.
Is it possible to just not cash the check and tell them the check won't be cashed? We're just going to hold it?
I would say no, because a check has a 2-week turnaround time
Okay.
frame. So if we did not cash the check and they had the party and there was damage, they could cancel that
Okay.
check and we wouldn't be able
Okay.
to.
Why
Okay.
can't you just use the credit card and reimburse the credit card company? That way they wouldn't have a cash turnover at all, because most people don't operate with cash anymore. They don't operate with a checkbook.
You're correct. So the credit card option is going to come into play when we're finished with the website. Everything will actually go onto the credit card. So that'll make things a million times easier. Right now, we could run it through on the DLM side if we needed to and apply it to a correct account. I can have that created, but now you're going to run into the fact of probably having to fight credit card companies. People are going to do a stop payment, or they're going to say that shouldn't be charged this fee, and now we're going to be fighting that financial battle. So it's like, it'd be better off if this was, the credit cards were already on the website and they already were signing that electronically, saying that this is what's going to happen if something happens. Whereas here, we don't have that. We do it manually, and I think there's going to be a battle financially with what's going on that way. I'll probably have to deal with credit card companies coming back and trying to take the money back. Whereas on the website, it's got that where when you agree to the terms, you're agreeing right there.
Becky,
That's my
when is that credit card on the website option going to be available for people renting the shelter?
Actually, I think it's going to be pretty quick here because I have the application on my desk right now to finish up with the treasurer's office to have Point and Pay installed on the system. So I think it's actually going to be pretty dang soon.
So should we try
That's
her
the
on
whole
the
goal.
credit card?
Can you say that again,
As
Buzz?
Should we just go this year, going with Bob's recommendation and see how it works when we put it on the credit card, so there's no money taken out of checking accounts? If you're gonna have it done before this season?
I still think that huge payment of $725 is still going to be a problem. Some people, let's say, you have a middle, lower class working person who is really trying to make ends meet, living paycheck to paycheck. They might already have a lot of credit card debt, and $725 might not be available on them, or card limits. So we might be deterring, something like that as well, where they could have had a birthday party out there at $425, but at $725, now they can't. We gotta remember we have a wide range of residents in Trempealeau County and outside of Trempealeau County. We wanna make sure we can meet.
Why don't we treat these as two separate items and deal with the cost first, and then we can deal, because what I'm hearing is there's a chance that if we lower the cost the deposit might not be a big issue with the credit card.
Yeah, Jeannie?
Thank you. You're acting as the chair. So when they're billed on the credit card, the $750, and then they have to get the $500 back from the credit card, a reimbursement from the credit card. That seems difficult.
In the system, it won't be, because it's just pushing a couple buttons.
Okay,
Because I've already had to do a refund on the DLM side for a permit, and it
Okay.
was super simple.
okay,
So it wouldn't be. It's actually be more difficult to refund off of a check, because
Right,
I'd have to write
right.
out a voucher. So that's the current process that we have, and where it's just a complete quick turnaround time frame on the new system.
okay. So it seems that all credit card companies understand this process of deposits, and that it's billed on the credit card, but it's refunded. Okay,
That would be the new process going forward when
Okay.
the system is in play.
okay. But I get your
Becky-
point where
Becky, this is
people
Jean.
might, wait, I'm not done yet. If we could have the chair acknowledge people to speak, it would be better to have this conversation.
It's kind of hard for
Now I
for the
forget what
chair
I was
to
gonna say,
acknowledge
so
because I
I'm sorry.
can't see anyone other than Buzz and Jean.
Okay, I'm sorry, I forgot what I was gonna say anyway. All right, forget it.
I guess maybe to simplify that, maybe the vice chair could step in and coordinate this. So you're here, Jeannie, you see what's going on and acknowledge it and then relay the message to Beth.
All right. So, there were a couple, Jean Galazinski, did you have something to say?
My question was to Becky in regards to the loss of revenue. What was that in regards from 2019? Well, of course, it's hard with 2020 because of COVID, but how many estimate do you think we lost for 2021 for finances because of the high amount? And the reason I asked that is because we discussed this last year to bring it up because of all the damage that was done and repeatedly done and the cost of that.
Okay, so without having exact numbers right in front of me, from looking at the calendar where Reed and I would do the reservations, we probably have half the reservations this past year that we've had in the past, which is a huge number. So that's a lot of revenue that we've missed out on. So the deposit doesn't have the factor in that because that gets returned. So it would just be what we're missing out for the actual rental agreement part of it, which is $225 for the shelter and $100 for the lower.
Yes.
So, I mean, that's quite a bit of revenue that way. I don't have exact numbers, but it's been half of what the other seasons have been because of the increased price. And then I think the last part of your question was in regards to the damages. The damages all occurred late hours when a lot of alcohol had already been obtained. So with having the earlier time frame, we've gotten rid of that issue. People are not able to get extremely intoxicated and do ridiculous things there anymore because, one, there's no cover of darkness at 8 o'clock at night in the summer, and everything is out in the open and people can see what's going on. And two, there's not enough time to consume all that much alcohol. So that time frame thing has really been the key factor in deterring any of the vandalism that we would have seen normally in a season.
Perfect. Thank you, Becky.
Buzz, I
welcome.
think you had something to say?
Well, I guess I had two questions. Thank you, Jeannie. The question I had too, Becky, was, I think I'm starting to get it. Even if we put it on the credit card, because of the length of time people are pre-registering, they get billed for that amount, correct? That's one question. And
That
so
is
it is an
correct.
out-of-pocket expense. And then two, as we went to the earlier time, did we have any vandalism issues last summer at all out there?
No, we have not since that March party that was really bad.
But yes, you are correct about the, so with the credit card, they're going to be paying interest on, because it'll be outside of their 1-month cycle. I mean, if it was all done ahead of time where they were renting it the same month as they were utilizing the park, they probably wouldn't see the interest on it. But since it's most likely they're renting at the beginning of the year and their party isn't until summer, they're definitely paying interest on that $725 that they charge to the card.
So what was, follow-up question if I may, what was our previous deposit required?
Prior to
Was that
500,
225?
Buzz? Yeah, it was $200 for the class shelter and 100 for the lower shelter. And now it's 500 for both of them. And I'm just thinking if we go back to 200.
For the shelter right now. Because we raised it to $225 for the rental.
Right, but I'm thinking if we go back to 200 just for the deposit for each one.
For each one, 200 and 100.
I was thinking 200 just to keep it easy across the board, but
The only problem is if you do 200 for that lower shelter, people are going to be frustrated because they're not getting the same amenities as the larger shelter closer to the bathroom. So I don't think you'll see people renting the lower shelter at 200.
oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you did
I meant the
200
deposit at 200.
Okay.
But the rental fee is still 100.
Yes.
Yes. Yep.
So what you're proposing is 200 deposit for the class, 200 for both,
Correct.
but it's still, the rental fees would stay the same.
That's right.
Okay.
100 and 225 are the
Okay.
rental fees.
I'll make a
this is
motion
Beth.
to adopt that change.
Beck,
we have
did you
a
have a
second?
question?
No, I was just going to say, I did have a couple of people, like, say they wanted to rent for the class reunion, but, you know, like, it was not my class, but my class has no money. So if I'm renting, Beth Killian, have to put out the deposit and the fee before, you know, the reunion. Not that I can't afford it, but there may be other situations where one person can't afford, you know, for the whole class. So they ended up going somewhere else. So I think it might be a good idea to lower the deposit. I'm just leery that we're going to have damage even though the hours are lower because the deposit is less. But I guess we can always raise it again in the future if that's the case.
Remember too, Beth, that we take a credit card and we don't let them rent it without letting us actually see the card and their ID. So even if because I understand if somebody smashes a window, that's going to be way more than even the $500 deposit. But that's why
Right.
then we go into the credit card after that. More or less, the deposit now has been used for the hours and staff time it's taken to clean up the mess behind, because it takes a full day to do that for some of those parties. So, and minor damages, of course.
Here's
I
a
know,
thought.
I've
You have
been
a
there and
question?
done that.
Here's a thought. What about the class shelter, 300 and a lower 200 for the deposit? Just a thought.
I did make a motion.
Yeah, we need a second.
I'll second,
sec-
and we can have
okay.
discussion.
Okay. The thing, I understand, I mean, if you are renting it in January for a party in May, you're making monthly payments on the credit card for the $750, which can be really a lot for some people. I wish there was a better way to hold a deposit without going through a credit card. Either cash or a check and just returning it when it comes back. So, because you're still, even if we have the $300, $200, people are paying that monthly because they rent it so far out.
Right.
You would need to be a cash reminder.
And they're paying interest on it, and they're, you
Well,
know.
right now, we aren't requiring, well, when the website's up, we're going to be requiring them to put that card down. Whereas right now, like if you look at the reservation list, it's all unpaid, but everybody has their spot held.
Right, right.
And they're not required to pay until, 2 weeks prior.
Okay, that's better then.
But at the same time, if you're not going to be able to reserve it on the website, might be some kinks I have to work out there without putting money down. Just like when you buy something online, you don't get it until you enter your card information.
Right,
Keep in mind that this is how people are renting hotel rooms and how they're renting campsites everywhere
right,
else too.
right.
All with their credit card. So
Right.
they already are expecting to pay an interest on that.
Okay.
It's just that expecting them to pay $700 and some dollars, when you go to rent a hotel room with all the amenities, you're paying like half of that, like not even $700 and some dollars.
that's true.
So I think that there is going to be some understanding with people to know that they will be paying interest because that you're using a credit card
Right.
at that point. But to expect them to do the interest on $725 is a lot to expect.
Right,
But
okay.
that's just,
Go ahead, Dan.
Well, I think the proposal protects the county to a better degree than the way we were doing it before, I mean, with the credit card online. And I think in today's world, the majority of the public is familiar with how credit cards work, and that, our initial intent by raising the cost was to protect the county and maybe generate a little revenue in the case of damage. But when our former actions actually result in a reduction in revenue, we're, I think, taking the right steps now by reducing that cost. And I made the motion, and I feel that's the way we should go.
Could you repeat the motion? Thank you.
That we, maybe I can, reduce the deposit to $200 per site and leave the rental $100 for the lower unit and $2.25 for the Claus unit,
All right.
and that it be put on a credit card on the website when that's up and running.
And somebody seconded it too.
Buzz
Oh,
did.
Buzz did, okay.
Can I make one more comment?
Sure.
Just a thought. Here again, I apologize. Now that I start thinking about this credit card thing, how about, this could be an option, they go on and they just pay for the fee, but then we just keep their credit card on file. Don't even worry about a deposit if there's damage. We just take what,
Can we do that?
I'm not sure. Because isn't that what you do with a hotel? Like, isn't it, don't you just pay for the room, but
Right.
they have the card on file, and if they go up there and there's damage, then they have your card information, they just take what's necessary to replace it. That's
Well,
another option.
Yeah, you're right, because they tell you when you check in, they want to see a credit card because you'll be
Incidentals.
charged for incidentals or
Right.
things that happen. So, yeah, that's true.
Just
That's how it
another
works.
thought. I don't know if we could do that, then they're not paying on the deposit and the fee every month. They just purchase the deposit, or I'm sorry, the fee, and then we just use the card if need be, because we have it.
We could have that disclaimer on the website as well, so that people who are reserving a shelter understand that.
Right, for sure. And I could, alter the current agreement with Rick, work with him, and make sure that it's
Legal?
what it should be and legal, yeah.
Can I amend my, well, I can. I'll amend my.
Yeah, I
Just
apologize,
before
I
you do that,
interrupted your motion
I
twice.
have a comment.
Buzz wants a comment.
Buzz, go ahead, and then Bob has his hand up here as well.
Okay, let
Okay.
Bob go first. He had his
No.
hand up.
No, go ahead. He said you could go
Okay.
ahead.
Okay. Since this is a credit card thing, I guess this is a question for Becky. Could we put on there that the deposit is only assessed against the credit card for the week or few days, the day of and of the party until there's an inspection made that just shows there was no damage, and then it comes off the card? Is that a pain, Becky, to deal with that scenario?
It would be more or less on the website side, if they can do something like that. It would be a lot of babysitting for Reed and I. I do think that, if we think about how for running this, like, more campground side of it, what Reed suggested is probably going to be the easiest method, because then we wouldn't have to worry about charging that credit card again, or taking anything off of it. It would be actually more clean and less hassle. So I mean, if it were me, if it was my opinion, I would go towards more what Reed was saying, for less for work on the county side of things and more cleaner for the credit card company.
And just to be clear, you said, Reed, we wouldn't charge the $200 deposit on the credit card until after the event to make sure nothing had happened.
Yeah, it'd be more or less just, we would charge the $225 for the cost, and then it would be, the card is there, if anything happens,
Okay.
we will charge for damages.
And
Right.
you think that's a cleaner, better way to do it?
A lot cleaner, because then we're not having to do the refund.
Okay, all right. So you're gonna amend your, I'm
Yes,
sorry, Beth, I kind of took over here since I can see what's going on.
No, that's
That's
good.
something too.
Because for people in the room, all I can see is the Trempealeau County logo, so I don't know
Okay.
who's
All
raising
right.
their hand. or
Bob has a
anything.
question.
I'm all in favor of that, but what I got a question, we've got a list of people that want to rent this. 24-hour notice, if you don't give us 24-hour notice, you don't get your money back type of thing? Is that how that's working? No, what I'm getting at is, so basically 2 weeks, if you put a cancellation in, you get your deposit back for the thing, but you're still getting charged to rent that building. We don't refund the money for the rental of the building.
Yeah, we have already in place a refund, I don't know what else to call it, like a refund.
50%.
Yeah. It's so like if they call inside of 2 weeks, they only get half their money back.
That's good. That's fair.
Because we might not be able to re-rent it.
Right.
So, where we could have, if it would have been maybe
Right.
longer time frame.
Okay. Okay, now, do you want to reframe?
Yes, I would love to rephrase my motion.
Okay.
That, for this year, we charge 2.25 for the Claus shelter, 100 for the lower shelter, and we keep the credit card on file to cover any and all damages should they occur.
I'll second.
So we have a motion by Shriner, second by Nutter, to keep the credit card on file for damages, but to charge for the rental of each shelter. Is that correct?
Yes?
I like
All
your
those in
motion.
favor? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, that's what we will do. That motion is passed.
That is good.
Then Reed is up for number 9, the Parks Manager Operation Report.
Okay, number 9, Parks Manager, yes. I'm just gonna give a quick update. I know we kind of went over it already with the 3 leg slots. We do have the 5 commitments so far. 3 of them have sent in their paperwork, and there's verbal commitments that they have reserved, so I would assume that they'll get it in here shortly. And then also just an update on the Ashley. We ended up sending out 46 invoices, and that is all done, and we're just waiting for people to return the checks, which that will switch over to the website again as well for next year.
Can you elaborate on what you're talking about here?
Sure, the invoices I'm sending out for the Ashley for the Arts reservations at the park.
Okay.
So it takes quite a while to go through the list, call everybody back, get commitments out of everybody, and, addresses and everything, and then all that's been done, and the invoices are in the mail, and now we're just waiting for return checks, which there again, once we can go on that website, this week's worth of work will be gone.
Yep.
Focus on other things.
And your,
Months' worth of work,
and your
actually.
3 pages of yellow paper with,
Yeah, I kind of got it right in here, yeah.
I know, I saw it last week.
Yep, so it's, that'll free up a lot of time to, focus on other things as well, and then we can just, watch the website, and hopefully with that much activity, all at one time, they can handle it. I guess that's gonna be something we'll have to play by ear, but that's still a year from now. And we don't necessarily have to have it at midnight now. We could make it on the first workday following at noon, whatever we'd like to do. And it'd be the same kind of thing, they just go on with their credit card, and then they select the sites they want, they worry about the payment, they worry about the dates they're coming in. Whereas now I'm going through and I'm changing every single invoice, and then you gotta double check it because there's usually a mistake there, and then sitting down folding envelopes. It's just a lot of unnecessary work that this website's gonna really help us out a lot.
Yeah, good.
And one other thing I'd like to talk about too for that, this agenda item is there's gonna be some people that aren't gonna wanna go to the park and use the website, and they're still gonna wanna pay at the post, and a lot of people just show up knowing that on a non-holiday weekend that there's going to be open sites, so they don't even bother to call me or call in and reserve. What is the committee's thought on keeping that there? So there's lots of cash and check going on there as well, but I feel like it could be campers that we might lose if we took that away, where you're required to go on the website. At the same time, they could maybe get there and see a new sign saying, go to this website and sign on and pay for it, but just something to start thinking about, because we do get there's a lot of times. I was actually telling Mike yesterday how we have 0 reservations for a weekend, and then I'll come in on Monday and there are 8 or 9 campsites were taken for the full weekend.
And they pay.
Because they pay right at the post there.
Yeah.
I think we should keep that for the simple reason, you get people that say they're traveling through the middle of the night and they've got a idea of, say, making it to Eau Claire. I'm tired. Pull over. We'll set up camp here.
Right.
Even if it's, just a pickup and they can sleep in their truck there.
For sure.
Becky?
So the only thing that I worry about with that, which I do think we need to keep it, I think we just need to figure out a way to make sure we have excellent communication between park staff and us, so we are making sure that we're already reserving those sites on the website. So when somebody goes onto the website, they're not renting site 2 and they get there and there's already somebody in site 2 because they came in the middle of the night. You know what I mean? We have to make sure that there's reserve signage going up right away, and that if somebody does pull in, we're getting notified to update the website to remove that site.
Right.
That's the
Yeah,
biggest thing.
I was just at, I go to Amnicon Falls a lot, and that's kind of how they have reserved sites or reserved signs up at every park. 'Cause I think almost all sites at state parks you have to reserve in advance, and they may keep just a couple for
Right, and that's what when I stay in like Petenwell or different places throughout Wisconsin, there's only a certain section. There might be 4 sites that you
Right.
can just pull into.
Right.
But the rest you all have to reserve. So we could just designate certain sites that are only available for pull-in people.
Which would be a good idea, because if you pull in, you may be pulling, like you said, pulling into someone's reserved site that's going to come in the morning, and there's nothing more irritating than somebody at your site you've reserved. So, I mean, they just have these nice little signs that are hung on the post, reserved, and you know not to pull in there. Michelle?
They have that at Merrick Park.
Right.
They keep a certain amount of open for people that
Yeah.
pop in.
I mean, I think state parks are better. National parks, no, I don't believe I think you have to reserve online, every site.
I think even some privates, I know that KOAs that I've stayed at have had certain sites where we've had to just, hey, we keep like 2 or 3 open just in case we have people traveling through.
I guess what we could maybe do is, look at a record in the last 3 years. What are the top 20 sites that we've got in the park? So that, no, but I'm just saying, because I just know with my travels through the park, I see there's some that are used every weekend in that. So, I mean, these are favorite spots for people. And, have a little map like right by the post. And these are not going to be reserved. Maybe have them in that new addition that people can just pull in off the road, and this is where you've got a camp. I mean, you leave your spots that people rent every week.
It's a great idea. I just wanted to bring this up, just, in this agenda item, just as something to think about.
Yeah. I mean, you can, you don't need our approval
No
to do
approval
that,
needed or
Kurt.
anything
Just
like
do
that,
it.
no. Okay. Good discussion.
I know
Anything
that.
else, Reed?
Yeah, I know that you've talked about wanting to do, it's just me asking a question, do some winter things. A lot of the state parks are doing, like, this Friday, Copper Falls is having candlelight, snowshoe walk. So all the state parks in the, up by my cabin are doing stuff like that, and it would be fun. I know it's getting kind of late to plan things, but.
We're planning the third weekend in February,
Oh,
actually holding an
good.
event out there,
Okay,
snowshoeing.
great,
So,
yay, okay, good.
and apparently you can get a load of, firewood from some local folks for not too much and just have a
Okay.
big fire, and we'll, I'm kind of working with a couple other staff just to,
Oh,
for
great.
ideas and brainstorming.
Okay, I'll
so
be there.
That should be what's the third weekend or Saturday in February? We're thinking morning at this point though, or midday, 17th or 19th, as long as we wanted to make sure there
The
wasn't
third
another.
Friday or
19th or
Saturday? It's the 19th is the
19th.
Saturday, yeah.
There isn't any that we saw, any ice fishing tournaments or anything going on that weekend, I don't
Oh,
believe.
fun. That'll be
Oh.
fun. Michelle?
Did you find out about snowshoe rental thing?
I haven't called Beaver
we
Creek
talked-
yet. No,
Oh.
and I was planning on giving them a call here soon now that, because just this past week, we decided to set that date and see if we can get some
Cool.
traction on there. We put a couple of posts on Facebook and it seems to be getting some likes and shares and that kind of thing, so we'll
Yeah,
see.
they had a nice, it wasn't as many as they expected up in Strum for their moonlight. They did it on the full moon in January. But they had, they had people donate stuff for a silent auction, and that was kind of fun.
Great,
Yeah.
cool, good deal.
And hot chocolate, of course,
Right.
It was like a Hallmark movie.
Yeah.
So the traction for the post has been 15 shares, 24 comments, and about 60 emoji things, hearts and likes.
Oh,
All
cool.
extremely positive, and people who are asking for more things like this, yes, to definitely do it, and giving us ideas as well.
Okay. Can you bring your dog?
Yeah, the park's dog-friendly.
Yeah, I know I walk him there sometimes when no one's there, but, okay. Good,
look-
yay, thank you.
So it looks like some event is happening in a couple of weeks. That's good. Anything else, Reed?
That should be it for that one.
Okay, so you're probably up for number 10 with the potential stakeholders.
I am, yes. So the contract has been signed with the consulting firm that we were approved last meeting, and basically we're gonna start getting together for the planning process, and we want to involve, obviously the local community in this process. So I've reached out to various businesses, organizations, school districts, that kind of thing. I'm waiting for calls back. And I'd like to maybe set up a kind of a visioning session that we can, including the consulting firm, obviously, that we can start with this planning process, and hopefully everything will be done by the spring. That's kind of the plan, at least the planning to get the concept design and all that done. So, and then from there, we can start working on individual projects and development for the park and funding sources. So I just wanted to give an update on that. Does the committee have any comments, questions,
Good.
ideas, suggestions?
Kids, don't forget to involve some kids in the process.
For sure, and I did do that survey.
Uh-huh.
When was that? Probably 3-4 months ago.
Oh, yeah, I saw that survey.
I sent it all out there, so but they're, obviously, the youth is certainly gonna be welcome to attend these
Yeah,
meetings as
good,
well,
okay,
so.
Good. Michelle,
Reed, this is Jean.
Sure.
go ahead.
Can you remind me again the name of the consulting firm that we voted for and approved?
You bet, it's Neighborhood Planners out of Appleton.
I just couldn't find it in my notes. Thank you.
Michelle, you have a question?
Well, it's going back to the parks manager and the snowshoe thing. Are they supposed to bring their own food, or are we gonna have a truck there, or just for the public? Because they,
At this point,
yeah, what?
we weren't planning on really having any food other than maybe some s'more things, stuff like that.
So-
Hot chocolate, coffee, that kind of thing.
Okay, so they should bring their own, what they want
If they're
to
planning
eat.
on staying a while and actually having a meal, yeah, I'd definitely pack your own food.
Okay,
And I mean, this is just, the preliminary year, see what kind of interest it gets, and we can certainly, plan an annual
Yep.
winter event that gets larger every year with more ideas, so.
Becky?
So the post is for a morning snowshoe, because we don't have time to get together lighting for the trails for an evening one. So we had said that we would, we're looking at interest, maybe doing rolls and hot chocolate and coffee. So it was, I think the post is something about perking your interest. Would a morning coffee shoe
Oh, cool.
perk your interest?
Yeah, I saw that.
So that's where we're at for the first year, just because that would be low key and not require a ton of crazy planning right now. Right. So that's where we're at this point.
Well, thank you. Sorry about that, I went back.
Okay, that's okay.
So potential stakeholders, no, I don't have any.
Anything
Yeah,
else?
so
on
does
the
anybody have any
proposal
questions
forward?
or comments or suggestions on the stakeholder and the planning of this, of the development at the park?
I guess Buzz, I've got a comment, if nobody else does.
Okay.
A comment, I guess, could you get us a list of your contacts for the committee to look at, just in case anybody has any additional ideas who they think might be able, that would be interested in this, participating in this discussion?
You bet. Would you like me just to send that out via email to everybody?
That would be a good idea.
Okay. And I'm still in the process of making some calls, but I do have a list of people I've already contacted as well, so I can make a few more of those calls today, then send the full list if you'd like, and then obviously I'm wide open to ideas.
Okay. Email's
sure.
good, then we can respond to you.
Are you getting a positive response to your particular calls?
To be honest, I'm waiting on most people to call me back. Most of them went to voicemails and left messages for people, so I think it will be a positive response from at least some of the places I've called. You know, the school district sounded very interested. I don't know exactly who from the district would be the person attending the meetings representing the districts, but I called just, you know, the superintendent line, or I should say I just called the district line, didn't call one of the individual schools themselves. But I have a feeling I'm going to have some callbacks coming this week.
I think Josh Skaug was really involved in the Strum hiking trail, and he's with the school. Isn't he the superintendent of Oliva Strum, if I'm not mistaken? He's something, but you might want to get a hold of him.
Okay.
And Nikki Rindall, who I think you had contact with, she was involved with that too, but she's a nurse, and she's trying to do more of this, you know, she'd give you a lot of insight and input into, well, she'd have a lot of ideas, I think.
How do you spell her last name?
Rindal. I'll send you her email.
Okay. Great. Thank you. Okay.
Anything else? Then if we move on to number 11, an update on our economic development coordinator. That's probably Mike, correct?
Yes. We held interviews a short time ago. We have an offer out, and we're in negotiations with the candidate, and those negotiations will continue with the Personnel Bargaining Committee later in the month. So hope to have this resolved by the next PTED meeting.
That sounds good to me. Any other questions?
How many interviews did you conduct, my Buzz?
We had 3 interviews.
I don't know what I can say, but I really loved 2 of them. So there you go.
We'll keep our fingers crossed. Item number 12 is setting the next meeting date. And I know there's been some discussion about the Wisconsin Land and Water. So do we want to move from the first Tuesday to the second Tuesday? Or keep it the same?
I think I think the conference, Becky can correct me if I'm wrong, I think the conference starts on Wednesday of the month.
Thursday, it wouldn't conflict.
It did?
Oh, okay. All right, well, okay, so it's a one-day virtual now?
So it does not affect us.
Yeah, I don't think it affects PTED. If it affects anybody, it might be environment and land use, but not PTED.
So it's the 3rd and 4th? Yeah. Buzz, is the Red Cedar conference still on in March?
We decided to cancel since we felt it was unsafe to hold it face to face.
Okay,
So we canceled for 2022.
okay. Thank you. I usually go with that. It's really good.
I don't have my calendar in front of me, so what is the date of the first Tuesday?
The first.
The 1st.
On February 1st? I mean, March, excuse me, March 1st?
Yes, March will mirror February this year.
Okay, so then our next PTED meeting would be March 1st at 9 a.m. Does that work for everyone?
Yep.
Okay, then we're at the end of the agenda, and according to the computer, it says 9:55 a.m. I will adjourn the meeting and thank everyone for coming. Hope to see you next month in person.
Thanks, Beth.